with Ben and David. You know,
what's going on, man? It's good to see you.
The show that lies somewhere between the pit of man's fears and the summit of his knowledge, otherwise known as captive audience. So,
well, let's pray to God that I'm not the summit of man's knowledge, because I'll tell you that right now, we're in trouble. If that's the case.
Well, I think there's quite a few people in Portland who think that you're the pit of man's fears.
Well, they should be. They should be concerned.
I don't know if anybody watching or you Ben. I don't know if you can tell what old TV series I've been binge watching, but that comes from that. So
I love it.
Anybody know what it is out there? Somewhere between the pit of man's fears and the summit of his knowledge. The fifth dimension.
I don't know, man. I'm stumped. Someone's got to chime in on this one.
It's the Twilight Zone.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
It's been a long
time.
Good
stuff. Good stuff in the Twilight Zone.
There's some great Twilight. I used to love the Twilight Zone.
Yeah. You know what else I got through binge watching? I don't know, probably October, November, was King of the Hill. Yeah. What a great show that was. Yeah. It pulled no punches. It had absolutely no PC. Of course, I guess it was a different time in America. I guess you could actually say what you wanted to say in the late 90s, early 2000s. But now, of course, you can't say anything without getting kicked off some platform, which you'll be happy to know, Ben, that we were, in fact, kicked off of YouTube, probably for something I said, probably having to do with somebody's pronouns.
Yeah. Was it something I said?
Or is it you just don't like the way I look? Come on, YouTube. Tell me what it is. Yeah. YouTube. Yeah. What's going on with you in Free Oregon these days?
Man, I don't know. Free Oregon, Ben Kibler and Preacher Paul and all those leaders are running Free Oregon very well these days. And I'm just, I've been busy. I've been making a little bit of changes for myself, but mainly took a job working for a company at the C-level that is most of their revenue comes from counterterrorism and intelligence contracting with the Pentagon. So it's really interesting, but I got brought on as the director of marketing and legislative affairs, and we were looking at passing some legislation and for our schools to help make our schools a little bit safer. And I'm going to focus on just making some money and staying in politics, but it's going to be a different angle for sure than the one that I've been in. But Free Oregon's doing well. They were attacking this whole Tiger Tualatin school board mishap with the guy that was on the board at TTSD, even though he lived in Colorado. Can you believe that? So really? He's resigning, and they're bringing a lot of pressure there. So now Free Oregon's doing some really great stuff. I'm really proud of it.
So there's a school board member in Tiger, do you say, that lived in Colorado?
Tiger School District. Yeah. In fact, let me pull it up real fast.
Lived in Colorado. What do you do? Fly in for meetings, or do they just zoom in?
They probably just been zooming in. It's I'm looking right now. I mean, I hate to admit this, but the last few weeks, man, I've not been paying attention. I've been taking a break. I've been like, sometimes you got to take a break. Yeah, got to take a break from the show.
At the start of the last show, which I think was Friday, the last show of the year, I think I said out loud, I'm not sure I can take this anymore because we're looking through the news.
Yeah,
you know, it's just too.
You're frozen up, Dave. Hey, someone message in the chat if I'm frozen. Oh, there he is. He's back.
I'm back.
Yeah.
Are you look like frozen? Does that mean I'm frozen?
No, you're not frozen.
Oh, okay. There we go. So I noticed that we're getting a new. We generally, talk about stuff going on with Oregon, and that's generally our focus. But I was, going through Twitter. Twitter's a little more fun now than it used to be. I don't know if it's the big change that everybody hails it to be, but Twitter used to be fun. Yeah, and so I'm sifting through Twitter, and I get these suggested tweets, and apparently Twitter's getting to know me better. Even though it's known me for 12, 13 years now, apparently it's getting to reacquaint itself better because it was feeding me some tweets from Republican Congress people in D.C. Right. And there's all this, we got a new regime coming in January, and everything, everything is going to be different, And I but asked myself, actually, I tweeted, I said, is it going to be different? Are you going to get your hands out of our pockets? Are you going to get your hands out of our lives, out of our businesses? Or is it just going to be the same old crap? I on and on and on and on, session after session, Congress after Congress, we just keep getting what appears to be a bigger and more intrusive and more overbearing government. And I'd like to see somebody stand up and say, hey, this is enough. We really need to get off the backs of the people that are paying our salaries. But I don't have great hopes for that. What do you think? You think we're going to get anything different in 2023, or what do you think? More of the same?
I don't know. Let's see what happens. I mean, there's a lot of patriot Republicans getting elected, and some obviously that didn't. But I just saw a report this afternoon on Fox that McCarthy may not have the votes, and I think Scalise is probably someone who's they're looking at to replace. So. Well, let's see what happens. I mean, I think we got to just see what happens. Otherwise, we got to continue to push. We have a long road ahead, not only in the state of Oregon, but in our country. We have a long road ahead of voters beginning to participate more in the political process so that we can get the changes that we want to see. We can't just, like we've done for the last 50 years, we can't just let the politicians be politicians and mind our own business. We got to mind their business. Otherwise, they're going to control our business. We saw that in 2020, but look, it's only been 2 years. Today's like the second day of 2023. So I have high hopes. I think that our movement is going to be faster than the communist movement, much faster, probably 10 times faster. So what they've been able to accomplish in 50 years, I think we can accomplish in maybe 5 or 10. So really? we have to work really, really hard, but maybe not that much. I mean, they've accomplished a lot. I got to really think about that. I mean, they've transformed our country, and in a very, very negative way. But you wait, because there's so many more Americans who just want their own liberty. They don't want to pay $7 to $8 a gallon for gas. They don't want their kids being taught this garbage in school. About their sexuality and all this stuff. And we all know it doesn't even matter either way. Like whether you're bisexual or gay or straight or you're transgender or whatever it might be, you still got to learn how to read, and you still got to learn how to do basic math, or you're toast. And so, I just saw a report just yesterday that in the United States alone, we have the worst math scores from our high school students than at any other time since before the 70s. And Black students, their math is about twice as bad as the white students. So all these policies that the left has brought in the name of Black Lives Matter, in the name of equity and emotional learning, or whatever the hell this stuff is, the CRT crap, it hurts people of color the worst. It hurts Black people the most. It hurts Black kids the most every single time. Yeah. And so eventually they're going to wake up to defunding the police. Hurts Black people the most. And it hurts everybody, but it hurts Black people the most. And so, I think people are going to start waking up, and I think 2023 is going to be the year. I think 2024, we're going to see a little bit of a tipping point where we're really going to start to feel a different level of momentum.
Well, I sure hope so, because, people, I saw another tweet, I forget. Oh, it was the Hodge twins, saying that, the amount of people that are waking up, is encouraging, and it's, quite a few people. And I wondered to myself, actually, I tweeted, I said, what happens when more people are awake, if you will, than are not? And when I think about that, I think you know me well enough that I'm a mechanical guy. You know, I'm a specifics action guy. You know, what specifically mechanically happens when most people in America wake up and realize that the government is not working in their best interests. And that's kind of the question, that I think people like you and me that, are kind of grassroots activists, we kind of have to answer, what specifically can we do? We can vote in the right people. We can recall the people that need to be recalled. We can apply pressure and apply it constantly. Constant pressure applied constantly is how the left got to where we are. But what do you think? What do you think when we reach that tipping point? Mechanically, what are the actions? So how's that going to take place to where we can tame government and get back to some sort of get back to an America that our founders had envisioned?
Well, I think we have to start, number one, with mail-in voting. Okay, I think mail-in voting is probably the biggest problem that we face. And if you look at the new swing states, since 2020, the new swing states, they weren't swing states really before. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but did Arizona matter before? Like, I
don't think so. Okay, I mean, Arizona's still R+4.
Yeah, I mean, I started paying real close attention in 2020. But did Arizona ever matter? No, Arizona was red. So like Colorado and these places that moved to mail-in voting, like Oregon did, Pennsylvania, Michigan, these places all of a sudden become really questionable when it comes to the elections. And I think that what people have to understand is that this is a bipartisan issue from a standpoint of voters. With mail-in voting, number one, the biggest problem is that no one can confirm, and they say they can, but they cannot prove it, that no one can confirm that one person cast one vote. No one can confirm. And in Oregon especially, it's very advanced. Even the guy that I ran against, Rob Wagner, that's now the Senate president in Oregon, he passed a law that made it so you can collect ballots 7 days after Election Day, and that includes collecting ballots from drop boxes. They don't have to be postmarked in the bill. So what they're doing is they've created this system that we literally cannot beat through the democratic process, which is what we're guaranteed under First Amendment, I think a couple other amendments. So in Oregon, you see the history of the degradation of our election integrity began with mail-in voting. And it used to be that it was like in the 90s, it was like we only did it for statewide elections. Then it became, we tried it out for the first time in national elections. And then it became law that that mail-in voting is how we vote. You can't vote any other way. So that is how we conduct our elections, through mail-in voting. We went 100%. We're the first state in the country to do that. Then they had motor voter, which brought 750,000 new voter registrations in a couple of years. These are people that wouldn't have registered to vote, maybe aren't able or allowed to register to vote, but it was done automatically through DMV. And a lot of these people don't vote. And so they have these ballots that are not fulfilled, and that so they can use these registered voters to play kind of hoodwink the system. And then of course the last couple of big bills that came in since 2020. Notice these two bills came in since 2020. One is to make it illegal for county clerks to clean the voter rolls. That means if you die, if you move out of state, if you haven't voted in 10 years, 20 years, you have to, they brought all those back. And what it did is it brought back over 550,000 previously deactivated voter registrations, okay, in 2020 coming into 2022, right? So that's why when we look around our state and we see these outcomes that don't match the sentiment of our communities, we're like scratching our head going, how did this happen? Well, they brought over 500,000 votes back in, or 500,000 registered votes, but that may not have actual voters. Okay. This is crazy. And then they did the law in 2021. They passed the law, which made it so that you could collect ballots 7 days after election. And in those laws, they brought it so that they didn't have to certify the elections for 4 or 6 weeks. I think it is 4 or 6 weeks. That's our biggest problem.
Yeah, well, that's a good point.
It needs to be national. It needs to be national. We have to end it in Arizona. We have to end it in Michigan. We have to end it in Pennsylvania. The Democrat Party created new swing states, new ones. Literally, they fabricated it in 2020. But they had from 2016 to 2020 to do it, and they did.
They're amazing that way, aren't they?
It's magical. It's totally magical. I'll bet you this. This is so funny. I go out in Tualatin where I live, and I go to the grocery store, I go to restaurants, or I'll go to Bend, or I'll go, and people are like, all the time, they're like, "Are you Ben Edtl?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's good to meet you." It happens all the time. I doubt that our sitting senator has that much of a public profile. In fact, we know he doesn't. I have a bigger public profile than him, but for some reason, it got blown out.
So is Wagner the Senate president now?
He's the Senate president now. Yeah.
So he took Courtney's place.
He took Courtney's place.
Wow.
It's funny how that is.
Yeah. Well, Courtney, for all the Democrat that he was, he did manage to keep the popular vote, National Popular Vote, MPV. He managed to keep that at bay for many, many years, and they actually passed it, if I remember correctly, when he was out sick, because he would not let it leave the Senate. He would not bring it to the floor. That's how much he disliked that entire concept. And of course, a lot of states have passed it, and it doesn't take effect until enough states have passed it that equal more than half of the electoral votes or something like that. But it's another in the long-standing fight to turn what was once a representative republic into a pure direct democracy. And for all the people that slam their fist on the table and say, America is a republic, I go, well, you know what? It's not so much as a republic as it was. I mean, the 17th Amendment did more to, subvert the founders' intentions than anything else. We used to have a Senate that worked for the states. The Senate represented the states. They didn't represent the people. They were not elected by the people. Senators were elected by members of the state legislatures, and they went to DC to advocate for their states. And do you suppose if we still had that we would have, federal income taxes as high as they are, taking that money from the states instead of leaving it in the states where it should be? We've gone a long ways. Here's the next thing. The Electoral College won't even really, probably make that much difference. But here's the next thing. If the Supreme Court is elected, then it's over. It's a democracy. We're no longer a republic.
Well, and here's what's scary about a democracy. We've operated fairly well for many years as a democratic republic form of government, right? Yeah. We have a Republican constitution. We have a democratic process. That's the great experiment, right? The problem with democracy is what you're seeing since 2020, right before everyone's eyes, the censorship. So when you have people voting and it's about majority rule, and then the powers that be control what information the majority sees.
Yeah.
Oh my God, of course. So it makes total sense. That's why it's so important to defend the Republican rights that we have in this country, and we should defend them with any means possible. Ultimately, that's what we just have to do. That's how it was accomplished in the first place. And I really hope we don't go there. But it looks like, when you've got, Elon Musk taking over Twitter, I'll tell you this. As soon as I got the blue check on Twitter, the second I got the blue check, literally within 24 hours, my post dropped. My post, my impressions, my likes, my engagement went down probably 98%. I went from getting an average of 150 likes, 200 likes, and that's with 1,100 followers or something like that, to getting 5 and 10 at the most with all my tweets throughout the entire election. So, or the whole campaign. So most of 2021, most of 2022, when Elon Musk took it over and threw the bad guys out of Twitter, it went right back up. Now I'm getting 200, 300, 400 likes, 500, 600 and up. And now I've gained, since Elon Musk took over, I've gained probably 700 to 800 new followers. I'm almost to 2,000 with Twitter, and I really don't use it very much. I need to use it more, but I think you can totally see that it's more of a natural algorithm. But we have to have this in order to defend the republic, because people will see these things and they will argue, but they know and they realize that their arguments are baseless. I think people do wake up the more that we're able to have open discussion. It's super important that we have that, because thought and logic is what drives it, right? It's not just facts. Like, we were arguing about facts, right? We're all arguing about facts. We're like, oh, the vaccines are safe. Okay, they're safe. Got it. But they weren't really tested. I mean, you have like, lip injections that go through far more FDA approval than DNA and RNA injections. So I mean, far more. And so you're like, wow, it took 7 years to add a little more saline to the solution. And with these, it was like, 5,000 people. Let's kick 2,000 out because they're like died or something. So we'll just have the 2,500 that made it. And this is crazy. When that stuff starts to get out to the general public, even the far left media has to cover it. And look what's happened tonight on the football field. You got a guy on football took a shot in the chest or a hit, and he collapsed and was out. And I did hear and see that they're still suspending the game, but this could be because the NFL had the vaccine mandate. This could be related to the vaccine, and we don't know for sure, but we're going to try to find out.
Right. Well, yeah, that's the whole narrative now is, yes, people are dying suddenly, but it has nothing to do with the vaccine, of course.
Yeah, but it looks like death syndrome now. We've never had that before.
Yeah. Sudden adult death syndrome.
It's not the vaccine.
Yeah. Let's convene a congressional, to find out what's going on with there. But it looks like you mentioned Musk. One of the things that I kind of left 2022 with and entering 2023 with is that it seems like everything is a conspiracy, and I probably shouldn't scoff the conspiracy theories anymore, but. Musk has blown the lid off of the collusion between government. I mean, there's it's a First Amendment violation when government infringes upon the free speech of its citizens or the press.
FBI agents working at Twitter. The FBI was working to get Biden elected and suppress the Hunter laptop story. The FBI. It wasn't Biden's campaign team. It was the FBI.
Yeah, they call it sheep dipping. It's when government operatives go to work for a private company and carry out their usually military operations with the cover of a private company, so it's not traced back to them. And it's just everybody. I guess everybody knew. I mean, I knew, like you noticed. I knew that I was dropped in the algorithm in Twitter 8 years ago. Hardly get anything. And we all knew that was happening. We all knew there was shadow banning. We all knew that that people were getting tweets were being removed. Here's something funny. When I was a delegate for Trump in 2020, before I became a delegate, they vetted heavily everyone who was a delegate from Oregon. And in order for me to actually do that, I had to delete 5 tweets. And now, I was not a big Trump supporter in the primary of 2016.
Me neither.
Right?
Yeah. I honestly didn't vote for him in the primary, but
yeah, I didn't either. I voted for Ted Cruz. But what do you suppose the 5 tweets were? Do you suppose they were tweets criticizing Donald Trump from 2016 or 2015? No, they were 5 tweets that mentioned the word Hitler.
You know what's crazy about that?
And they were, and it had nothing to do with Trump at all. It was just,
and you weren't praising Hitler. You were just saying, probably talking negatively or comparing
Godwin's law. Or, maybe I was saying something about Godwin's law. I just had not, they were just casual tweets. But anyway, so I deleted those. But we knew, this whole time that Twitter was, was deleting everything from our side. And now that Elon Musk has blown the lid off it, and I understand this week, Musk is going to blow the lid off of Fauci. Yeah. And we're gonna see some. I mean, that's blood on their hands. I mean, it's when you
Fauci's an evil son of a bitch. I mean, that guy is evil. Yeah, I'll bet you Fauci's the most evil human being on this earth, on this whole planet.
He might very well be. He might very well be, because we all question this whole not everyone, but a lot of people question this whole. The thing that got me about the vaccine is I'm not anti-vax. I've had most of them. But the thing that got me about this one was, why is the government and the media and everyone trying to convince me to take it? I don't trust any of those people. And so, I got COVID. I was in the hospital. It's not like I almost died or anything like that, but, I was in the hospital for 3 or 4 or 5 days, something like that, and got out and I recovered and everything. But, just the way that, that they were, the coordinated effort to get everybody to do this just made me suspicious. And, and we're about to find out that there's probably plenty to be suspicious about. And the fact that what are now known to be, even in mainstream media, effective treatments for COVID, that people like Kate Brown ordered pharmacies not to fulfill. Ivermectin, I forget what that other one is, HCQ.
And incredible doctors like Dr. Stephen LaTulip, who lost their licenses for treating COVID patients early with 100% effectiveness and no spread. I mean, his license for that. There are so many doctors who lost their licenses. And I'll tell you this, the vast majority of people aren't as stupid as me, okay? They're not going to throw their business away in the name of a cause. They're not going to throw their license away. Dr. LaTulip obviously had the bravery to do that and make an example out of the government and himself, and allow himself to be martyred in that way, because he lost his medical license in Oregon. For him, it was like, not most people are going to just go, yeah, this is crazy, but I ain't losing my license. They're not going to risk their livelihood and the roof over their heads. And so the state and the federal government coerce people, and we know. I mean, it's bad stuff. So I can't wait. I can't wait to see what Musk brings out against Fauci. That guy, evil.
Yeah. And unfortunately, we have an executive branch at the federal level that's not going to do anything about the FBI, even though all the heads should roll there, right? I mean, if we had
the FBI.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah, kind of makes you wonder who's running the country. Who is the executive branch?
1960s KGB. I mean, it's absolutely to be completely not trusted at all.
Oh yeah, I agree. I mean, some of the communications that Musk had in his archives there before he took the company over. And here's a question I have, and I've asked this before on the show. How much stuff did they get rid of before he took the company over? I mean, he had so many FBI agents working there. Didn't they go through and get rid of a bunch of stuff?
I'm sure they did.
And I'm surprised that they left any, but apparently they did. And maybe nobody checked the Slack channels, because that's apparently where most of the stuff is coming from. Were internal Slack communications. But yeah, it's really eye-opening. And I hope somehow it gets out in the mainstream, because the problem is not everybody's on Twitter, and it's hard for this information to get out. I don't think, mainstream media is going to cover it, because they're complicit in it. I mean, I'm sure they've got their own internal backdoor communications with the FBI at NBC, ABC, CNN, the New York Times, Facebook, Google, Apple, Instagram. They all have this communication. They're all in collusion with the FBI trying to sway elections.
No, totally. The CNN, you remember Project Veritas? Project Veritas hacked into the CNN's morning call with all their reporters every morning, their company-wide conference call. And they admitted stuff like that they got messages from the Biden administration on how to cover the news and what not to cover. And they had all that stuff, man. That's why they got banned on every platform just about. So it's crazy. I mean, we you know, man, it's bad. I mean, there's a lot of infrastructure in place that needs to be dismantled. And I mean, you know, there's a long way to go there. But
yeah,
you know, I think you've always said this, Dave, that it's ground up, that we can beat them ground up. You know, we start with our counties, we start with our school boards, and we fight there. And that works its way up to the Oregon Department of Education. That works its way up to, you know, getting people elected that are going to stand up to centralization of education in our state, you know, and in a lot of different ways, right? So ground up always works. In fact, ground up is where it gets real interesting. Kerry Martell from the Yamhill Advocate. He's the publisher of the Yamhill Advocate. Now,
yeah,
he recorded a sitting city council person from Newburgh and at a public event. So he had his recorder on because he's there and he's a journalist and he's recording everything. And I always assume when I'm talking to a journalist that it's recorded. and I was born literally yesterday. So, you know, I've learned not much in politics that if you're talking to a journalist, you're on the record. And so,
yes. if you're talking anywhere where anyone can hear you, you are on the record.
You're on the record. So this person pulled some strings a few weeks ago with the Yamhill County sheriffs, who are obviously corrupt and need some work, and they got him to press charges on Kerry for spying and what was the other? It was like spying and stalking. And they went in and they tried to arrest him at his gym because he also owns a gym in Newburgh. And he skipped the state. He left the state because they called him. They said they got a warrant out for his arrest. So he'd go somewhere, I think California or something. So then he's down in California. We do this live on my Instagram, and I'm like, dude, get your story out so you can come back to Oregon. If you do get arrested, you know, try to raise some money, bail you out. And he said, and he comes back, and he got a call just last week that the district attorney in Yamhill County said there's no crime, and really dropped the entire thing. And it just shows you like how well they're doing in Yamhill County. The people like McMinnville Strong and Newburgh Strong and these groups that they have taken over. They took over the Newburgh school boards. They took over. They're taking over city council. They're taking over the mayor's seat. They've taken the Yamhill County Commission. I mean, it's incredible what can happen when we really get together and focus on one thing at a time and take it. And you can do it. And so, you know, this is another example where the left, they're so desperate in Yamhill County. They're so desperate that they're just over that. Their illegal activity is right out in front. Their corruption is right out in front. And now the Yamhill County Sheriff's Office has some explaining to do.
I would say, yeah.
Record somebody at a public event that's being recorded, by the way. It was live streamed. There were cameras and microphones everywhere. And I mean, it's so corrupt, man. So I hope the people of Yamhill County throw that. I don't know who the sheriff is there. He might be cool. I don't know, but he needs to go. I hope they get him on the next election.
Yeah, he either needs to go or he needs to find out who did that without his knowledge. Somebody did it without his knowledge. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, it's good to hear they have an ethical district attorney. So
yeah,
because otherwise,
that's the thing keeping Washington County in line is Kevin Barrett. I think it's Barrett. I can't remember his last name right now, but Washington County is fantastic.
Yeah, I forget his name. He was challenged real heavily by a Soros-funded candidate in the last election.
And he won.
Yeah, and he did. Yeah, you know. So I guess there you go. I mean, if you get the right people elected, they're a backstop. And you're right. You can apply pressure at the Oregon Department of Education if you have enough school boards. You can apply pressure at non-government organizations that make policy, like the League of Oregon Cities. If you get enough city councils, or the Association of Oregon Counties, if you get enough county commissioners. So, yeah, good point. Good point in that
it's your
upward
point,
pressure.
Dave. It's your point. It was always ground up with you. You've always said that. So I agree. I think ground up is key.
I always have. You're right. You're right. I guess I think 22 really overwhelmed me, Ben. Just the amount of I guess you can call it. I hate to use the word corruption because I just think it's a little bit overused. Just the impenetrable or seemingly impenetrable barrage of propaganda that has been going on the last couple of years just seemed to kind of peak in my mind, just from all different directions in 2022. And I just kind of look around and go, man, is there a fix? Is there a way out of this? And thank you for reminding me there is a way out of this, and it's from the bottom up.
There's a couple ways out. We have a political, we can work politically, and we can work in other ways. But there's two ways out. And so we have to make sure that that we're working politically first, and there's a lot of ways we can win, but I think ground up is the best. I think the mail-in voting, I think people need to really understand how insecure our mail-in voting is, and I'm not saying that my race, I would have won my race, because I'm in a D20 district, which means that we had this conversation, Dave, after the election, where it's like, if you live in Southwest Portland and you're a non-affiliated voter, you're probably a Democrat. If you live in Harney County and you're not an affiliated voter, you're probably going to vote Republican. So, it's a little bit deceptive in terms of when I have a district with 40%, 44% of the voters are non-affiliated, well, they're Democrat voters. And so, I have to assume that. So, being in a D20 with 40% non-affiliated in Multnomah County, that's not a race that I think a Republican can win. But I do think it's very odd because I don't think it was that big of a blowout. I think it was closer. I think that they put here's what I think. I think that they put the fix in early in that race. And in other races, they don't put the fix in, but I think they put it in certain races. And I don't think people on the ground really know it. I had people counting ballots and saying that it is close. It is close. They were telling me, they're like, dude, we're just seeing your ballots. And it's like, you guys are even. And there was nothing like that. Now in Multnomah County, in Washington County, people weren't even allowed in. Poll watchers weren't allowed in. In Washington County, you had to watch the CCTV videos. That was poll watching, and you didn't see everything. So you couldn't even be on the ground. In Clackamas County, you could be on the ground in the polls, walking around. But Multnomah County and Washington County, you had to watch through a video.
Wow. Yeah.
They gave you, right? So really, really like weird stuff. And I think our elections need to change because I don't care if it's partisan or not partisan, Oregonians have to trust their election process. And right now our process is designed to create a lot of questions. And that's just by design. So that I think is our number one process. And I think registering voters is another one, but we're going to lose the voter registration game if we're trying to register Republicans in Oregon, because they're going to find ways to bring back 550,000 voters that don't exist. They're going to find ways, just like they did in 2021 with the voter roll bill. So they're going to find ways to beat us at that game at a whole nother level that just simply we won't play at that level. Like, we're just not going to play at that level, and we can't because we don't have control of the state systems. So we have to we have to ditch mail-in voting and go back to the way it used to be, where we had small precincts with 1 to 400 households per precinct, and they were counted, and by 30 minutes after 8, it was done, and you knew it, and it was certified a week later, and that's right. That's what we need to go back to. And you got to go in person and fill out your paper and hand them a ballot.
Yeah. Well, I agree. I think a lot of Americans agree with you, and certainly a lot of Oregonians agree with you as well. If you have no democratically administered republic if you can't trust your elections.
No. Yeah.
And as Stalin, to paraphrase Stalin, it doesn't matter, who people vote for. It matters who counts the votes. And Democrats have had a very, had pretty much a lock on the State Department and the final vote tallying of all the counties in Oregon for quite some time. So I'm sure they know the intricacies of how to make that work for them. Mm-hmm. So what are your predictions for this year, for 2023? It's the second day of the year. What do you think? What do you got to say about 2023?
I got two really gnarly predictions about 2023. Okay, number one, by summertime, we're going to be seeing $7 plus gas in Oregon, and I think you're going to see it even higher potentially in California. But Oregon, we're going to look at $7 plus. I think that we're going to see some incredible, unprecedented taxation in Oregon. I think the taxation is going to be so bad. We've got healthcare for all, right? We've got the inability for minorities in the legislature to miss a day, and if they do, then whoever's in charge, Rob Wagner, the snakiest one of all. I mean, when that guy goes mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the snakiest son of a bitch in Salem? The mirror goes, you, Rob, it's you. That guy is so slimy. I don't even care. He is so bad. And guess what? He's gonna make sure that the Republicans he doesn't like that are in and the Democrats too, because this guy doesn't care. That's why Peter Courtney's resigned, because he's like, they don't give a shit about democracy anymore. They don't care. They just don't care. The Kotek Wagner show, they do not care. And let me tell you, I've been saying this all along, that Wagner and Kotek have worked hand in hand to completely take over that legislator, and they're doing it. And now if a Republican misses a day because they're sick or whatever, it's unexcused. It's unexcused by Rob Wagner. That guy gets to decide who's electable. Literally, he's going to decide who's electable, okay? And we're the only state in the nation with this law. It's crazy. Even the Willamette Week was like, Rob, this law is really concerning. And when I debated with them, and I'm like, it's totally concerning, because Rob himself is going to decide who can be up for re-election in the next cycle. This is crazy stuff. This is despotism. And so, and that's what they're going to do. But I'll tell you, healthcare for all. The middle class has been squeezed. I just saw a national report saying that the inflation has hit the middle class harder than anyone else. Middle class meaning you make $100K, a year, or to $400K a year as a family. You're middle class, and I'll tell you, when they take half your $400K, that's $200, okay, and then after that, you're paying state, and then all your property taxes, that's $150. Why live in Oregon? Literally, why live in Oregon? So I know that a lot, and we're going to see this. We're going to see almost a near collapse, if not a total collapse, of our healthcare system this year, because the people paying the taxes, okay, for the healthcare for all, they're the people who work in medical. 27 out of 25 of the top 30 highest paying jobs in Oregon are doctors, nurses, and other techs. They're the highest paid people. They're going to be paying the bill for all the free healthcare that's at a premium, the premium free healthcare. And they're not going to live in Oregon. They're leaving. They're gone. They're not going to be here. So we're going to have a collapse of our medical system. We're going to see unprecedented taxes, and we're going to be paying out the ass for fuel, and it's going to hurt every single one of us. And I hope that this is going to be a catalyst to bring us into 2024, where we really start to see people waking up.
Wow. Yeah. Great predictions. I mean, I'm sorry to hear them, but I think you're absolutely right. I mean, we are the petri dish for communism in the United States of America. The state of Oregon is, and we are the first state in the union to have universal health care, and that's going to fall on the taxpayers. I read estimates for the thing passed at around an additional 9%. Top tax bracket in Oregon right now is 9.9%. And another 9% on that. And then you take the top federal bracket and you're 55% of your income just scraped right off the top. You think people are going to move out?
I know they will. I know. Look, my wife works in medical. She's one of those earners, and it's diving. It's diving. The business is slowing down at an incredible rate. I think that we're going to have a major economic disaster. 2023, 2024. We're going to have some unprecedented economy, low economy growth. And so we're one of those families that's like, why are we living in Oregon? Because we can't afford to live here. It's already the 5th most expensive state going into 2023. It's going to be number 1. And we're going to take California. And, I think that a lot of people are just going to have to leave. They're going to be forced out financially before anything else. And so I can tell you that, it's not going to look good. It's not going to look good. I think 2023 is going to be bad. 2022 in murders in Portland went up higher than 2021, which was a record-setting year. Now we're at 96. I think 7. I think someone was murdered late New Year's Eve. I'm not sure, but I think it's 96. Wow. Now, Portland has the highest gross number of murders, just highest number of murders than any city on the West Coast. Sacramento, Seattle, San Diego, San Francisco. We got almost double San Francisco, more than double Seattle. The only city on the West Coast with more murders than Portland is, you guessed it, Los Angeles. We're number 2, baby. And we're about 15 times smaller than Los Angeles. Wow. Oh, about 15 times smaller. We're 3 times smaller than Seattle. Seattle's had 46 murders. Yeah. We've had 96.
Yeah, well, as I said earlier today, Oregon has consistently been on the top of bad lists and at the bottom of good lists.
That about sums it up.
If it's good, we're bad. Well, we're probably in the top 5. Probably in the top 5, baby. So
when you're gonna come here and pay the highest price for all the goods you buy, you're gonna get priced out of your housing, and then you're gonna get murdered.
Yeah,
so you're gonna die broke in Oregon, probably violently.
Well, welcome to Oregon. Thanks for visiting.
Oregon, where you'll never go back.
Yeah. Hey, great fun having you on tonight, Ben. Always good to see you. Always good to talk to you. And Happy New Year to you. And Happy New Year to everybody listening tonight. And we'll be back again. I guess I'll be back again actually tomorrow night. Of captive audience.
Love it.
Have a good night, everybody.
Happy New Year, everybody. Go follow me on Twitter, Ben Edtl, @Ben Edtl. See you there.